but she has been really closed to any sort of just open journalistic interview. And so we don't really know like what her mind is really. We haven't been able to probe the details of her training. How is her training maybe different than Tokyo? So as much as she is statistically the favorite, there are still some really intriguing question marks about Janja leading into this, just because we've had such limited access to her.
Yeah, we actually tried to chat with her and she turned us down. So Janja, if you're listening, we want to talk to you.
This is Climbing Gold.
One thing that I don't like in sports is when there's like one dominant person and the announcer continually just talks about how that person's going to win and no one else has a chance. But I kind of think that there might be one dominant competitor on the the women's side. And I'm curious what you guys think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably fair. Janja Grönbrett won gold already. She has the most World Cup victories of any climber of all time, men or women. She just won her 20th World Cup title in Innsbruck. So, I mean, if she didn't win, it would be surprising. But there's always a chance that she could lose, maybe.
My
He's
husband has this joke where he always says, "What would Yanya do?" when he's like wondering what to do. um, I'm wondering, like, are there any other female competitors that you think have a chance to beat her?
And when he asks what would Janja do, he means send. Like Janja would just
Yeah,
send,
yeah,
like
exactly.
find a way to the top one way or
Yeah,
another.
yeah,
It's like, I mean, do you even have to ask? Because you know what the answer is. She's gonna
yeah,
send.
yeah.
But
I think the interesting thing too about Janja, real quick before we get into the other competitors, is she has all the accolades that you mentioned. She's the defending Olympic champion. But since the Tokyo Olympics, I think she's been very smart in how she's handled her career and her celebrity. Um, it's something that's kind of hard for. I mean, maybe Alex, you probably can relate to how she has smartly handled this more so than Lisa or Fitz or I can. But so after the Olympics in 2021, she took almost all of the 2022 Boulder season off. And after that, she was pretty limited in the 2023 season as well, in the Boulder World Cup circuit and the Lead World Cup circuit. She didn't do a lot of events. And even this year, she's really been choosy about which competitions she takes part in. I think, and some of that was due, she did have an injury, but she's been open in saying that some of it was due to she just needed time to recharge after the Olympics and kind of like decompress a little bit. So I think to go along with all the accolades, it seems to me like she's been very smart about the lead up to these games and kind of the preparation for it from a pressure standpoint, because everybody's like saying it's like we're saying she's the favorite. It'd be a shock if she didn't win. And that's all true. But you put yourself in her shoes and you're just thinking like, gosh, how must that feel to be her and to have everybody expecting her to win?
yeah, so do you think she's been really strategic about how she's sort of marshaled her energy, sort of like saved up her spirit? Like getting psyched the last couple of years. I mean, it does seem like she's been less on the circuit than she used to be, but maybe that's because she also has less to prove. I mean, in her first seasons, she's like trying to win a world championship. She's trying to win the bouldering title and things like that. And now she's literally won everything. Like, does she care? Like, does she need to like fly to China every other weekend to do some comp? Like, when she knows she's gonna win, like, yeah, I don't know. I could see her just like not caring quite as much.
Yeah, and it's done wonders for her star power too, right? And probably unintentionally. I don't think that was any part of her plan, but it has become this thing where since she has been fairly limited in her participation at World Cups, when she is on the roster at a World Cup, it's
People are
like,
psyched.
yeah, that is the story. It's like, wow, Janja is here. Janja is going to be at this World Cup, and it just kind of gives it this extra magnitude that's been really fun to see. I mean,
Yeah, it's
it's
like a
like
it's like a celebrity appearance, except that a celebrity who always wins. Just it comes and bone crushes all the final problems.
Yeah, the last World Cup that she was in Innsbruck a couple weeks ago, which was like her Olympic tune-up, it almost seemed like the setters had set like a nice warm-up for her. And it was like nails difficult. And then Yanni would come out and she'd almost come out like too hot and like overswing some jump problem. And then it would just be like focus in, and it just looked like she was climbing V3 or V4 out of the gate. It was
she had to like rein it in a bit. She was like,
she had to rein it in a
this
little
isn't
bit.
nearly as
Yeah.
hard as my training problems. I better, I better like rein it in a little bit here.
I don't need to jump 40 feet across the wall right now.
Totally. Yeah, she had to turn all the dials down a little bit. She's like, whoa, turns out no one else has been training as hard as I have.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So going back, Lisa, you had asked if there's anybody that can beat her. I mean, of course, right? It's sports. Anything can happen. I think if you look at it historically, there are a few names that come to mind because they are people that have beaten her in the past on the World Cup circuit. Through the American lens, Natalia Grossman famously beat Janja Garnbret at a bouldering World Cup in Salt Lake City in 2021, which was kind of, in some ways, the event that kind of announced Natalia Grossman to the world as a real leader on the World Cup scene. The next year, 2020.
Though also, it's kind of a credit to Janja's dominance that we go back to 2021 for one person who beat her at one event. And you're kind of like, that doesn't really scream weakness on Janja's part. You know, you're sort of like, oh, yeah, 3 years ago, she got second at one event. You're like, okay, well, that's, I think she's still got a pretty good shot.
Yeah, if you want to have some fun, look at Janja Garnbret's IFSC profile page where it lists all of her places in all the comps dating back to her rookie season, 2015. And ever since like 2019 or something, right? It's just like first. And then every once in a while it's like second, first. And then sometimes there's like 15th because it's like speed climbing, right? In the lead up to Tokyo. But everything, it's like, it's very rare. The anything that's not first place, it's few and far between. But in 2022 in the lead World Cup circuit, Ai Mori from Japan famously swooped in. She hadn't been on the circuit that year, and then near the tail end of the circuit, Ai Mori swoops in, beats Janja Garnbret twice in lead, and then leaves the circuit. Doesn't do it again. So everybody's kind of standing around like, what in the world? Like, who is this Ai Mori? Like, she just beat Janja and then said peace. So Ai Mori has beaten Janja before. Oriane Bertone of France beat Janja in a World Cup in Prague in last year, 2023. I don't know how much stock I would put in that victory because that was Janja's return after being on a hiatus for a while, and Janja still got second place. But more recently, Ai Mori then at the World Championships beat Janja again in lead. So
what we're saying is that if we make like an Avenger style team up of all the other best women in the world, they might be able to beat Janja if she's having an off day.
Well, that's the thing.
What is it, like Power Rangers or one of the things where they all transform together? Like if you take the best attributes of all these other different women who have qualified for the Olympics, then like, yeah, they might be able to beat Janja.
With our powers combined.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah, what is that? Is that Transformers, Power Rangers?
Voltron. Is it Voltron?
No, but Captain Planet, maybe?
Oh yeah, that's the powers combined. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally,
Yeah.
with all the little like rainbow colors and the rings.
But it is a good point. Like you look at the people, it's a very select list, those people we just mentioned, but you look at the victories over Janja, and even when people beat her, it is the slimmest margin. Like I think back to when I said Oriane Bertone beat Janja at a World Cup last year in Prague, and if I remember correctly, Janja and Oriane both in the finals had 3 tops and like 4 zones. And they were and Janja struggled on this slab, which people were saying maybe that's because she had a broken toe and her footwork was, it was hard for her footwork. It's just Oriane beat her because Janja took more attempts, but their score, 3 tops and 4 zones. They both had the same score.
Yeah, you could argue that if the problems had been harder and there'd been more separation, then you're sort of like, maybe you would have seen, more greatness out of either of them.
Totally. And then at the World Championships where Ai Mori beat Janja last year, in the lead finals, they both topped the route. Aimori and Yanya both topped the lead final, and it had to go back to count back to the semifinal, which is how Aimori took the victory. So it's like, yeah, these people are beating Yanya, but it's still really close. So like, you kind of think for anybody to beat Yanya at the Olympics, two things have to happen. First of all, anybody other than Yanya has to have the
Peak
performance, the peak day, and then Yanya probably has to have a little bit of an off day, or struggle, or some just random slip or something. But hey, it could happen.
I mean, the nature of competition though is you never know when somebody gets food poisoning, somebody feels a little sick, somebody gets, whatever. I mean, there's always some degree of human frailty, like, or like she twists her ankle on the first boulder or something. You know what I mean? Like, you just never quite know if someone's gonna, what may happen on any given day. So obviously everybody has a shot, but it seems like Yanya is heavily favored, at least by us, by the pundits at Climbing Gold.
What would Yanya do?
I wish we had more access into her mindset too. This is a little different than Tokyo, where she was more open to press and publicity. In the lead up to this Paris Olympics, she has been very closed off to doing interviews. She's done interviews after she wins the World Cup, and they do like the victory interview for a minute, and she's put out some social media stuff, and I know she has some promotional stuff that's coming out with sponsors and all that. That's like, it's very curated, of course, but she has been really closed to any sort of just open journalistic interview. And so we don't really know like what her mind is really. We haven't been able to probe the details of her training. How is her training maybe different than Tokyo? So as much as she is statistically the favorite, there are still some really intriguing question marks about Yanya leading into this, just because we've had such limited access to her.
Yeah, we actually tried to chat with her and she turned us down. So Yanya, if you're listening, we want to talk to you.
Maybe she'll be more relaxed post Olympics.
Yeah.
Then we can talk to her about mindset, preparation, all the fun things.